Hey, 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 ya, hey, 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 ya, hey, 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 ya, hey, hey, hey. Fly, 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 fly down to, fly down to, fly down to the res.
I think you started.
I forgot.
Welcome to another episode of Driving to the Race.
With your favorite hosts, Inelia and Larry. Here's your egg, honey.
Oh, I guess I have an egg.
Crystal egg.
A crystal egg.
That's what you want to talk about.
Aliens.
Aliens? That's what comes to your mind. Okay.
Yes. Well, a couple of things.
Yeah.
We did read a really interesting book about aliens, but it's not. It's the title is not. This book is about aliens.
The title is a bit odd, actually. If you're picking a title, it's kind of like the title is a bit of a riff on the book itself because it's called the Naked Bible.
Yes.
Which
Naked Bible.
Naked Bible. You think Naked Bible? You're thinking,
What does that mean?
What does that even mean?
Right.
So it was written by a fella named Mauro Biglino, and it's a strangely written book in the
Third person, first
person.
Yeah. Third person, second person.
Translated English to Italian type.
Oh, yeah, Italian to English.
Italian to English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is actually a fascinating book.
Yeah,
It is a very fascinating book.
That one's the easiest to read. The one before that is something about after you read this, you'll never think of the Bible the same again. That's like the title of the book.
Oh, okay.
And that was, I was reading to you a little bit last night, where it was very difficult. It wasn't really narrative. It was more like,
it's very difficult to
here's the
grasp.
literal words, here's the literal translation from, what was it, Hebrew or something? Hebrew to English in the order they're in.
Yeah.
And here's the words that they say.
Yeah.
And then the part that goes a bit wonky is the words translation, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they translate a word like Elohim, they translate that to say God. So when you read the book and it says God, but it actually said Elohim. Elohim is the
name of a species.
Supposedly translation
or tribe
of Hebrew into English or Italian or whatever, but the real word in the original-ish, because even then original, which one's original?
Right.
The way that it's written is Elohim, for example.
Mm-hmm. And it's a plural anyways.
Yeah.
And it means a species, a person, a type of person.
And there was more than one Elohim. There were many.
Yeah, with different tribes, yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that...
the nuts and bolts of the Naked Bible book was that his premise is that as a translator, translating...
it wasn't a religious book at all, he said.
Yeah,
it was a historical book.
A historical account of one tribe.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking about the Old Testament.
Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you told me.
Yeah. Old and part of the New, because the New is based on the Old, isn't it?
Don't know. I don't think so.
I'm not really a Bible scholar, obviously. No. But just to set the scene, okay. He was a student and he's just fascinated with language, right? Mm-hmm. Hebrew and whatever these languages. And he was enamored with the idea of translating texts. Mm-hmm. It's just something he really, really found fascinating, you know?
Yes.
And so, for some reason or other, he got a hold of a text in the original language of, I think it was in Hebrew, right?
Yes.
Don't hold me to the details, but essentially, he got a copy of a manuscript in the Hebrew, and he went through to translate it, and he checked his translation against somebody else's translation, the official translation, to see that he was doing right. Mm-hmm. And as he went through, he found there was a correction.
Yes.
It's like, oh my, it looks like they mistranslated this word.
Yes.
So he wrote a letter to the Vatican people in charge of the translations, said, here's what I found. Would you check and see if I'm correct? And he only barely expected an answer because, the Vatican, they're very, very busy.
Right.
Well,
and they must know the right translation.
Yes, they must.
I mean, geez.
They're the authority. Well, he got a letter back quite quickly, which made him feel so good. He was so proud. because he got recognized, and they said, "Yeah, you're right. That's a good catch. Thank you. If you find any more, let us know."
Yeah.
So now he has a man with a mission.
Yeah.
You know,
So he went to do the whole
he
thing.
went to do it. And he kept doing it and doing it, and as he did, and he generated and made this, created this relationship with the
Vatican.
Vatican translations part, and he did such a great job. They asked him if he'd like to come help them. I think by translating some documents that they hadn't yet translated, because he was doing a bang-up job.
Yeah, he was.
And as he did, he found, oh, geez, this isn't a religious text. This is a history text, history, literal history. If we translate certain words into other words, they don't actually mean that.
And then historically, he found when those translations were swapped and changed into something else, like the word spiritual was never there, or spirit was never there. You know, there's lots of things that were never there and were just changed to support the power structure of the time.
Yeah, basically.
So, yeah, interesting.
Right, and so
Oh, and the other part that was really interesting to me, and this is something that I had picked up before, when Cain, I think it was, that left...
Cain and Abel, those ones?
When he left heaven, he went off and started living with other humans, with other people. One of them did. And he was like, wait a minute, if the only humans were in heaven, where did these other people come from?
No. It was Garden of Eden.
Eden, yeah.
In Eden, but Eden is a garden, yes, but a garden like a walled village.
Yes.
And inside is called a garden.
Yeah.
And inside the walled garden, these beings lived, Cain, Abel, whatever, and they had Adamites, and they had Elohim, and they had El. I think El might be the singular of Elohim, which were plural. And they have one Elohim in charge of the garden. I suppose he'd be the boss of the village or something like that. At any rate, one of them, Cain and Abel, remember one killed the other or something?
Yeah.
And so the one got kicked out. When he got kicked out, he was afraid of being kicked out because he would be killed.
Yeah, by others.
By the other tribes and the other people, or the humans that were outside of there. And at the time, right, what you're saying is, at the time, we were to believe that those were the only humans.
Yeah.
But they weren't. Something like that.
So,
and also...
the other bit that was interesting to me even years ago, that was one of them, so where did these other humans come from then? Was a little bit at the start of the Bible where they said something like in the nature of, and God made man in their own image. And it's like, wait, that's plural.
Right.
Right? And that's plural, but most people say it out loud as like singular, his own image. But it's actually plural. I remember it was random. There was this Bible somewhere, probably in a hotel. I randomly opened it. Well, it couldn't have been a hotel because that's a new Bible. But it's somebody's house. Opened it randomly and I read that bit and I thought, wait a minute, what? And then another part that actually was pointed out to me by a Chilean guy who was in university studying philosophy. He was in like 30s or something. When I was about 14, he was my mom's boyfriend. And he came in and said, hey, did you know that UFOs are in the Bible? And I was like, what?
Yeah, right.
He says, yeah, look, right here. And he opened it up and it says, yeah, we studied it today in university. Look at it. And it's like a circle within a circle that floats and blah, blah, and this and the other. And I'm like, whoa, that's like a wheel within a wheel and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah. And if you see it from that perspective, it makes nonsensical unless you see it as a vehicle that floats.
Right, but that's the thing. When you enter into reading it and you have a presupposed, this is a religious text, that's God made the universe or the world, or he didn't, or that's only a solely religious thing and it has to do with God and Jesus and the fables and the allegories and all that. When you enter into it reading it that way, you see that.
Yeah, you see that. You see, a wheel within, well, what they actually meant
what does that really mean?
It is the wheel of spirits and the wheel of the divine and whatever. So they translate it that way, right? This is what they actually mean is blah, 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 blah. But what it says is this, but what they actually mean is blah, blah, blah. Or it actually means, or what God meant by that is blah, blah, blah. Or John meant by that, whatever, right?
Which that's the thing about our reality anyway. When you presuppose things going in, then you see what you presuppose. Or you believe it to be about. But
and I've seen it even with my teachings. People, I've seen them post on our Telegram or whatever, oh, when Inelia says blah, 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 what she actually means is blah, 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 blah. And I have to say, actually, no, that's not what I meant at all. Read it literally because that's how I write, When
it's
really fascinating.
When you were working with the Buddhists in Ireland, was it?
Yeah.
I remember this story, and this relates specifically kind of to what we're talking about right now.
Yes.
Where they had a bit of a rift in the Buddhists, which is kind of hilarious. If you ask me, it's just like the garden club. We have the rift in the garden club, and the cops got called because, we weren't growing our vegetables the right way. Or in the right place. Or who's the boss of the vegetables.
Right.
You don't expect garden clubs to have problems like the police need to be called. And the same thing with Buddhists. I don't know, what sects, what would you call it?
Yeah, they call them schools.
Well, Buddhist schools, we didn't think that Buddhist schools would get in fights with each other, but...
Oh, within the school,
within themselves, right? Yeah. I guess just tell the story a little bit.
Well, with regards to this particular aspect of interpretation,
right.
The original teachings clearly stay. The original teachings came from a guy in Japan in the 17th century or something like that. And I thought it was fabulous teachings because they were accurate, but also because he taught equality. Not just equality among men of different demographics, but equality between men and women. 17th century Japan, equality between men and women by some guy, who studied all the sutras and decided the Lotus Sutra was it, because it was the most accurate. And then he started interpreting, or teaching actually, his understanding of the Lotus Sutra with regards to Japanese society. And he never said it was more than that, right? And he started teaching the sutras. So, for example, somebody would say, I'm having issues with my husband. And he would say, okay, so this is what, if we look at the sutra, the Lotus Sutra, then you and your husband are equal, and blah, 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 right? So he said, there will be one day that my teachings are turning into a religion, and if that happens, make sure that you learn, and everybody's taught that they have to study my material, my original material, and understand that they're letters to different people in different circumstances, but never accept somebody else's interpretation of my work. He said this. Never go into interpreting my work as a priest or a layman, and never, when somebody gives you their interpretation of my work, just don't do it. Either go back to the Lotus Sutra yourself, or just take mine and, see if that works for you. And it carried on like this, and when I joined that group and I was studying his work and everything, because it's not called a religion, it's called a school, a teaching that you learn, and tools for living, I thought it was marvelous and very, very accurate and fabulous, I thought. And then one day I had a dream about the leader of the school, because, within the school actually split while I was in it. The priest went one way and the lay people went the other way. And then the lay people had a leader. And I had a dream where the lay leader was in the middle of this massive crowd, and then he was becoming elevated, in kind of a stage thing. Up and up and up and up he went, and he was like, teaching this and speaking and that, and everybody below was going, yeah, like this. And I thought, oh no, this is not good. This is really not good. This is the opposite of what the Lotus Sutra teaches, and also what Nichiren Daishonin, which was a Japanese guy back in the 17th century, was teaching. This is the opposite. I don't know if it was the 17th century. It could have been the 14th.
Some numbers.
It was way, way back.
Long
It could have been 14th, actually. But anyways, I had that dream, and I went to the leaders of Ireland, the Buddhist leaders in Ireland. I said, look, you have to be aware, you have to send a message that this is happening, and you have to be aware that I think it's going to be taken over by his ego. And then these are the signs to look out for. If you ever get an email or whatever saying we have to disregard the Lotus Sutra or Nichiren Daishonin's teaching and just learn his teachings, then we're screwed. I said this to the leadership of the country. And they said, that will never happen. No. And I said, well, I had already proven that I have certain capacities and abilities with regards to seeing timelines, energy lines, and the future, let's say. And I said, well, just be aware that if this happens. And she said, I've noticed that people are trying to do that to him, to elevate him in authority, but he will never, ever do that. He won't betray us like that. It was only like 3 years later or something like that, that's exactly what happened. Everybody got the magazine and the newsletters and everything, saying, okay, so because we're in modern society and people are having such an issue, understanding the teachings,
we need to interpret them.
So Daisaku Ikeda, which is a local, the regular modern one, leader of the lay people, is going to interpret everything for us, so we don't have to worry about it. And not only that, we're going to change our daily practice from what Nichiren Daishonin taught. We're going to do the modern version because, we're busy. So we don't have an hour in the morning, an hour at night to do these meditations and this practice. We're going to do a shortened version, and here it is. And I'm like, oh my God, there it is, right? So it's like, delete everything, and I moved away from that group because I knew it had been hijacked. I knew it was already getting into the power of others game, which was never that way before, right? It was never the power of others game before. So that was interesting to me, and I think that even in those teachings, he would teach that sooner or later a priesthood would develop of any teaching, and then the priesthood would get corrupted, and then all these things. He taught these things, and this is the science. And then if it wasn't the priesthood, then the leaders of the lay people, right? So yeah, it was kind of disappointing to see all my friends and stuff go down that path, because I thought they would know better. And I'm not actually sure if all of them did, but I know that some of them are still extremely active and still leading like large groups of Buddhists. And to me, it's like leading them down the wrong path, right? And so, yeah, it was disappointing, to say the least. But yeah, it's very similar to what we saw.
So basically, in a
book.
sense, you experienced what process what we call the Bible now would have gone through.
Yeah.
It would have been written in a language that, at the time, especially, not many people read or write.
Right.
So you had to have someone interpret the reading.
Right.
And in later years, it was used as, you needed to translate from what was written into another language entirely, which you can't read and you can't write, and you certainly can't translate. So our translation will be, who's going to pay the translators, right?
Right. People in power, they have the money.
The educated ones that are in whatever their monasteries or however it goes at the time.
Yeah.
And at one point, then you go from this word has been translated to this word. We don't even look at that it's the word that has been translated to this. We just assume that word means that word now. Mm-hmm. Even though the basis for that translation is completely fictional. Mm-hmm. At the point where you learn to do things, it isn't any fictional anymore because you learned how to do it from the masters who did it in the beginning, right?
Right. Yeah.
They're the ones who told us this word means that, but it literally doesn't mean that.
Right.
So you can see over time how we could go from one thing to another thing to another thing, and it does make sense. It's the same kind of thing that happens right now with modern events, Mm-hmm. Like we see a thing, we get a narrative for it. We don't have a way of checking ourselves.
Right.
And so we take the narrative and run with it and say, well,
these are experts, they must know, right?
They must know, so we should go do X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you can put almost any large world-changing event in that place, find that was made a narrative for that resulted in some way more control.
Yeah, more control, power over others. Yeah.
And you can, when you're aware of it, you can look and say, how can you guys fall for that? Why would you believe that story? And then, right? And then it's like separation.
Yeah, us versus them. And that's the other bit about the whole Bible thing.
Right.
One of the things this translator said, we have to understand that this is a book for and about the Jewish people.
Not the Jewish people, one tribe
of the Jewish people, that's right. One tribe of the Jewish people. And it pertains only to them.
Their
one
specific
tribe,
history.
Their specific history and of that tribe of Jewish people. It has nothing to do with Christianity. The Christianity didn't even exist.
Yeah, didn't have anything to do with Christianity
and
or the people as a whole. It just had to do with one tribe's
Yeah.
specific experience.
Yeah.
And it reminded me a huge amount of flying turtles.
Yes. The flying turtles.
Flying turtles.
Do you want to give the reference of flying turtles?
Yeah, if you go back to, I guess, episode 1 of the second hour.
Yes.
You'll find the second hour is our Subscribe Star.
Yeah, Subscribe Star. Go to Subscribe Star.
Well, if you just go to Subscribe Star, you're going to need to go to it. What do we have it listed in? Under Subscribe Star, your name?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it Inelia Benz? Well, if you go to ineliabenz.com, you'll find a link to the second hour. Second hour podcast, we share a regression and we share a literal experience of seeing a UFO in, let's say, 1,200, 700 to 1,200 times.
Yeah.
Quite a long time ago. Seeing them,
and
describing them, and the way that I described them in there at the time was, there's 3 flying turtles.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a language to say it, let alone translate it, right?
Or interpret it in your mind.
Or even interpret what you're seeing.
You're actually seeing turtles in the sky.
In the past, not too distant past, see on my shirt?
Look at right. Oh, that's the Thunderbird.
Thunderbird.
It's the Thunderbird.
So here, when they saw that, it was a Thunderbird.
Yeah.
And when I saw it in the plains, it was a flying turtle.
Yeah.
And in the Bible, it was lightning and chariots, or lightning and, not chariots, lightning and clouds.
Yeah.
It was moving saucer-shaped clouds with lightning coming out of them and a loud noise. So you could see, if you apply a little bit of set aside our presupposition and just open your mind to looking, you go like, oh, I think I'm starting to understand. But the problem, right, is our understanding of those are also flying turtles. Yeah,
it reminds me of that time when I asked your mom, so have you ever seen the Thunderbird? And says, oh, well, I've heard one, but no, you must never look at one. If you go down that beach, the Thunderbirds usually come there, and you mustn't look at it. I mean, and I said, well, why? What does it look like? Well, the one I saw, she said, and other people have said it too, it's very big, grey metal, and makes a big noise, and you don't look at it, because if you look at it, it'll take you away. And I looked at her and I says, Deanna, doesn't that sound like a UFO to you? And she went, and then she changed the subject. She said, Larry's sister's seen UFOs, and she's seen them in lots of different places at the res, she said. But no, that she didn't equate the two. Yeah. Culturally, as a Native American, it was too much for her, I think, to equate it.
Well, she was a very, very rooted into the tribe and that identity as an identity that she could hold on to that was not related to the traumatic ones.
Right.
So it was like a memory of her childhood that was delicious and yum and innocent and happy. So just root right into that one and let's have that life, right?
That's right, yeah.
Right, so you don't want to mess up the narrative.
No, that's true.
That's probably along the lines of why and how this Bible thing continued, because I think it must be the experience of some that they go to those, go to churches and they feel that sense of tribe and belonging and specialness and selectedness and on the right path and probably a respite from maybe their...
The illusion of separation, right?
I don't know, but I know when I was reading the Bible, when I give it a try, because it's like, well, the most popular book on the whole planet, I better look at it at least. And I tried. It didn't ring right.
Even saying the most important book on the whole planet it's a falsehood because it isn't. Right?
Sure is. I go to every hotel. It's in there.
Yeah, but it's an illusion. It's a marketing ploy.
Well, it's a good one.
It's not actually real or true for the majority of the planet.
Well, I have no way of measuring it.
Yeah.
But I believe you. But at the point I'm trying to make is when I read through it before I knew the truthing exercise, which is something that you've taught, we had a class on. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested, another thing, go to ineliabenz.com, look up the truthing exercise.
Truthing class.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exercises in it, yeah.
So when I was reading that book, I was really trying to connect with it because, I mean, it's so big to so many. I was like, what's here? What's here? So I'm looking, and it didn't truth, honestly. Mm-hmm. It didn't truth. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know there was a truthing, but it didn't truth.
Right.
So I kind of just dropped it. I was like, well, I don't know what's wrong, but I can't
connect.
Can't ingest it. Yeah. When I read the Naked Bible book, and then I see the literal parts and how it actually was written.
That makes sense.
Then I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. So I had in the past thrown away that bad translation, calling it useless, but in fact, it is relatively interesting if it's read correctly.
Right.
And it isn't a book that I would say, hey, base your entire life on, but it is a book that's becoming relevant in its original storyline. Because you have to guess, or you have to know, or you have to come to the conclusion, right? If a couple thousand years or more or less ago, more
because
4 or 5,
2000 is supposed to be Jesus, right? 2,000 years ago.
So many thousand years, let's say. I don't remember the number. These things were going on. Where are they? Did they just leave? The whoever was here?
The Elohim.
Who, by the way, created men.
Yes.
And they were called, and they didn't create all men, or maybe they did, but this particular group created an Adam.
Yes.
An Adam is an Adamite also. An Adamite was a male human hybrid with a hybridization of like a Homo erectus type person. Mixed with their Elohim's DNAs to give them the ability to conceive and understand and communicate and hear instructions. Right. Go do this, and they say, okay, I'll go do that. That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But the Elohims lived several thousand years, 10,000 or better.
Yes.
And the Adamites, they were very long-lived as well, but their lives were in the 1,000-year range. Or 2,000, something like that, right? 1,000 or thereabouts. And
then they shortened it more
as
and more.
Right, as it became more and more diluted, their lifespan became shorter and shorter and shorter when they had their experiences of this and that.
It's written slightly differently.
Is it?
Yeah, because they were saying make sure that they'd never find out the technology
of long
life or the methods of long life.
And if they did, the consequence was... Do you remember what the consequence was of them having long? They would grow up.
Oh, that's right. So it's everything we've been talking about.
All of the things
if you live long enough, you grow up, and then you challenge your parents, right?
Well,
or
I guess
you don't
need
your parents
you don't
anymore.
Need them. You're not dependent.
Yeah.
I think it was something around 1,000 to 1,300 years old was how old they were when they started to have children.
Yes, exactly. Which is everything I've been teaching for a long time now.
I thought that was so... Well, this is one of the things that I have, or I do in life, is I hear you tell a thing, you'll tell us a thing, a data point, like humans live a lot longer than 100 years. 100 years are infants.
Yeah.
And I mean, you shouldn't even think about having children until you're 300 or 400 years old.
Yeah.
That's absurd. And I look at that and I go like, do not compute, does not compute. It's like very interesting, but
then you start finding
what do I do
everywhere.
about that? Where do I take that information and do with it? Because right now I can't.
It's in the Bible.
I can't even conceive you would live longer than a few, like
Decades.
80, 100 years old. The 100-plus-year-olds I see are, mostly
Really
crippled and shriveled and dehydrated and desiccated. And as we move through our experience, I find the Brown's gas, and I find that, my battery is running low.
Wait, that shouldn't happen. Why is that happening?
It's impossible. Inconceivable.
Oh, I know. We got disconnected. Hold on.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, here, there it is.
You know what happens with distractions, right?
Something important's about to happen.
That means you better listen.
You better listen.
That was Brown's gas. So Brown's gas is a component of our basic human existence, I suppose.
Yes.
That those who reintroduce it into their bodies start living and looking much younger, much faster, because they're completely depleted of whatever's it, right?
Yeah.
There. Is that okay?
Yep.
Oh, and then as we go on further, we find that the basic, the basic nutrition, the basic foods, the basic everything that will exist in has been toxified to a degree that our ability to detoxify is suppressed.
Right,
so we build up toxins.
So we need to integrate detoxification systems that actually work and are effective.
Our ability to accept energy from the sun, for example,
and the plants
is interfered with by things like
chemtrails.
Our ability to, it's all intertwined together. It's like, name all of the things you can do to cut off humans from the ability to live a long and healthy and productive life. Keep them at a young age so they don't grow up. Why? Or
mature even in any ways, right? The schooling system is designed to keep an immature mind, a mind that can't go into depth, into anything. It's like from one subject to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, all day long. So the brain doesn't develop the ability to go into depth. And because if you go into depth about anything, you see it. So if you can't see it because you can't go into depth, somebody tells you, the trees are blue, and you go, oh, okay, they're blue. Suddenly they're blue.
They were, honey.
They were blue?
Remember the Saturn stuff?
That was purple.
Whatever. Purple is blue.
What do you mean, whatever? There's a huge difference
purple
between
and blue
and
are very close.
No, they're very different.
Purple is a hue of blue.
Okay, I'm going to paint your bathroom purple.
I would rather it's blue. Okay, back to what I was saying. Which was...
I don't know.
As you said something, you said, well, humans don't even mature.
Yeah.
They live a young life and they don't mature to the age that they should. They have kids way before they're actually capable and should be having children.
Yeah.
Well, we'll read the Naked Bible translation, and it turns out in the Naked Bible, in the literal story of that time, the humans of the time lived 1,000 years.
Yeah, and that's actually allegedly still in the Bible about that.
It is still in the Bible, but we think of them as allegory or as...
what they mean is...
I don't know what they mean,
is when they say they live
that
1,000
proves
of
supernatural because people don't live for a couple thousand or 10,000 years.
So they were
special. They were having kids at 1,300, and you can't even live that long.
Right.
So obviously it's not true. Yeah. We'll tell you what it means.
Right. What it means is...
the power of God. If you just come here, I'll explain it to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, besides all of that, I found that data that you had delivered matched the literal Naked Bible translation also, and I was like, So when I'm truthing and when I'm getting the data from you, and one time you say this, like, I think we're on our first hour, so we're not allowed to say that.
No.
Things that like...
Get us banned from...
Get us banned.
From all the YouTube.
Oh, we have to
everywhere.
say words that the AI doesn't understand. Like,
right.
how do we say it?
No, we don't. Don't go there.
Well, the things that
With
you
the-
said aren't real, that don't
The
exist,
illusions?
that
Lies?
they say that these are things and that they do this to you, and you said those aren't things. They aren't even real things. I looked, and not only is this not real, those aren't that.
Yeah.
There is none of those.
Yeah.
I'm being a little bit obtuse, obviously, but
Go to the second hour if you want to know
you
more.
want to know where else? The second hour.
Which we also got banned actually for, but we moved services, so now the second hour won't be banned.
Well, however things get banned or whatever, there's always ways around and through. So whatever way there is, we'll go around and through.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, these things weren't real. You told me they weren't real, and I said, "No, honey, don't say that. People think you're crazy."
Yeah.
And you said, "Yeah, I know. I'm scared." You didn't say you're scared, but
No. So that sucks because
That
now
sucks.
delivering the message of empowerment is going to be so much harder. But actually, the reverse is true.
the reverse is true.
People heard that and they clicked. It's like it's clicked for them. It clicked. It resonated truth. And if I was saying the truth when everybody else wasn't, they followed that truth line and they found that the empowerment work. So it worked really well.
Cooties, that's what it is.
Cuties?
Cooties.
Cooties, yeah.
Yeah, if you get cooties. Yeah. So cooties aren't real. Anyway. Anyway,
had to
when
say
I
it.
looked, I found, for crying out, oh my gosh, you're right. How could I have fallen for that this whole time? Well, the way is because I never
a
looked.
narrative,
Why
yeah.
would you even look?
Why?
It's just like the trees are
Exactly,
green,
me
of
too.
course. Duh.
If
We
I
don't need to
haven't-
look.
If I don't look, I don't see either. And that's why I love to do Q&As and things like that and having these conversations that you ask really interesting questions. And in Walk With Me now, people ask some amazing questions. I love it because if somebody doesn't ask, I don't look. I don't know. I don't know what to look at. I don't know what you know. I don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know what I know. Right?
And you don't know what's
have-
interesting either.
Exactly. So I do have the capacity to see, though. If somebody asks something, I do have that capacity. Or we do have that capacity to see. Because it's an expanded awareness. It's more than one singular thing. We as a species and also collectives that we're part of can see more than just one singular person. And I do have that capacity to move in and out of that expanded awareness. And that's what I teach. Also, the tools that I do is for that, for everybody to remember how to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And start practicing those muscles, But we started talking about ETs.
Well, we are talking about ETs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are
This
talking
whole
about
thing
ETs.
is ETs, and we have to remember, we're talking about ETs at the level of, basically, we're beginning to scratch past the flying turtle's interpretation, past the cloud that has lightning in it and moves and people come out of with lights on it and wheels, past the flying bird with thunder that comes out, that teaches you how to eat when you're starving because here's a whale and it can go get a whale, bring it to the beach and teach you how to get one. But past that, but we're still not there.
Yeah.
I have to feel like since...
Did you know that yesterday was UFO Day around the world?
No.
I didn't even know that existed.
I didn't know that was such a thing.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the first year or it's always been there, but yeah. So it's getting introduced back into the human collective. And like we talked about, right, that this year they're going to play that card, the ET card.
What you said specifically in your looking at 2022, and again, there's a free first hour episode, Driving to the Res, where we talked about that, right?
Yes.
And there's a second hour episode of that scene in there.
Yeah.
There was an entire presentation of it too. One of the things that you said in there was that UFOs become important, and they had an it's like this is gonna probably happen, but that also will be taken out of context by others to use in
The script.
of
Fear.
Fear split stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to say it. It's like, okay, the tide's going to come in, or the sun's going to be eclipsed by the moon, or whatever story, that's going to probably happen, but it's going to be fed to you in a way
that creates fear.
That creates fear, which clearly it shouldn't.
Right. And the fear and the emotion, fear creates realities.
Right.
And fear is being propagated on the planet, left, right, and center, and in waves over and over and over again. And this is one of the fear waves. An invisible enemy, or maybe partly visible, you don't understand, you can't do anything against, or whatever. So it's going to be fearful for the human collective. And people, I mean, I could never understand all these UFO people, not all of them, but a lot of them would say, we want disclosure. We want to force the government to give us disclosure. And like, disclosure is about the government and what the government says about UFOs. When they say, yeah, they're real, then we'll can all believe it, finally. But I've always said, if the government says something about the UFOs, no, it's a lie.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to say anything true about UFOs. They're going to use it as a way to disempower you, as a way to make you fearful. So, and we've seen the dialogue growing. I mean, we fell for that company, didn't we, of that musician?
Oh, TTSA, yes.
And all their dialogues, I mean, we've been listening to them, it's all injecting and seeding fear, using tiny little words, all the time. Aerial threat. I'm terrified of what might happen. And we don't know who these people are and what they're going to do to us. And all these language bits, key language seeding that they're putting in around UFOs. They even changed the word UFO because it didn't have the weight of fear in it, right? Unidentified flying object. So it's unknown
aerial
phenomenon, So it's like an aerial threat. That's what they use in another sentence. They're using is aerial threat, another name. So these are the things that are happening, and then they're kind of keeping that ace up their sleeve. And when the time comes, they may use that to, and by they, I mean the people who are in charge of carrying out the choice of the human collective that wants to continue with a power over others reality.
Which isn't specifically dark workers.
No, the majority actually are light workers. So, or light beings, I should say. Dark workers they are, actually all of them.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are light beings. So be aware of this, and know that our history with beings from other dimensions and other planets is ancient. We are those beings. We are hybrids of those beings. And by design, we not only affect the human collective creation on Earth, but also the whatever hybrid genetic material and ultra-dimensional material we carry with us. And even our souls, we could say, are alien to this universe. And there have been people who have spoken about the soul, it's a colonization of this universe, right? Souls are colonizing this universe, and they're succeeding. Right? So we see souls as a very positive thing because we are that. We are souls in physical bodies together to make a human being. So we see souls as very positive, and of course we are positive people, and souls, generally speaking, are very interested in exploring and finding out or having experiences in the physical universe. And all that, of course, is why a lot of souls chose to continue in the power over others game. So no judgment there. But it's a choice. So when I say they will use this information to make you fearful or to split us, again, another topic that will split us, make us versus them energy, be aware of it. Don't fall for it. Right? Don't fall for it.
Yeah. So how to become immune to these machinations, I suppose. How to become... how to be critical of the story you're told, what are some of the red flags? I suppose that'd
Fear.
be reasonable. Red flags. So is there nothing to be afraid of?
Correct.
Oh, geez.
Fear and helplessness. Okay, those are the ones that when stories or news or whatever's come in, if they generate those energies in you, be aware those are big, massive red flags.
So if you're afraid of, let's say, Trump being president, afraid of Trump being president, I mean, the most absurd thing in the world. But there are plenty of people who are afraid of the consequence of Trump being president, for example.
Yeah.
Or afraid of Biden continuing to be president. Or afraid of cooties. Or afraid of, I guess, getting the cutie cure.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be afraid of those things. Or afraid of unidentified aerial phenomena threats. That you... anything that the news is, it says you need to be afraid that you won't have any water.
Or food.
Or you need to be
Or
afraid
gas.
you're not going to have any fuel. You're not going to have any electricity. You're going to be too hot. You're going to be too cold. Your house is going to be destroyed by odd weather, bad weather, forest fires, etc., etc., etc. Whenever you need to be afraid, that's your red flag.
Yes.
So what do we do? First thing is...
process your fear.
process your fear about that thing.
Yes.
Do you know anything about processing your fear?
You can go to ineliabenz.com. The fear processing exercise right there for you to grab and use is right there for you.
So your first
Totally
inkling of, oh my gosh, do that.
Yeah.
If you have another way of handling fear, share. If you have a successful method that I have this fear, and then in a process of 10 minutes maximum, 5 minutes even, I guess it could be an hour, some process that at the end of it, that fear is no longer a controller of your decision.
Right.
Share it. This one that you have brought in, geez, it takes about 2 minutes.
It can.
Sometimes it takes repeat.
Yeah, sometimes you have to repeat it over and over again until it actually addresses it. Usually when we misidentify who is afraid.
Yeah.
And often it's between ourselves and our physical body.
Right, that's a key.
Usually when it takes a long time, it's because we're addressing it in the wrong way. When our physical body is afraid of something and we're not, that's can it's like, okay, I'm going to process spiders, but I'm not afraid of spiders, right? But our physical body might be.
Yeah, just go touch one, watch what happens.
Yeah. So,
or snakes, or these kind of physical body fears and
usually
soul body fears, they're different.
Yes, and usually fear of death is a physical body thing, right? But sometimes it can be soul. I don't want to leave right now. I don't want to go right now. It could be a soul one. So it could be both. It could be a physical body thing, and a soul one. I remember years ago when I was experimenting with sun gazing, like when you do it at dawn or at dusk, right? That's when the safe time, so you can do sun gazing. And I would say now the period of time that you can do it used to be an hour at dawn and an hour at dusk. Before and after, right? After dawn for an hour and before dusk for an hour. Now I think it's shorter because the sun is more intense. But anyways, when I was experimenting with that, and I started experimenting with it because I read somewhere that sun gazing cleared your, what is that gland that we have here?
Pituitary?
Yeah, it cleared your pituitary gland. So I thought, I really need that, so I'm going to do that. I don't know why I said I needed it. Probably did, I don't know. So I'm going to experiment to see if it's true. So I did it, and after 6 months of doing it, one afternoon, it was an evening actually, one evening I was outside on my feet in the grass looking at the sunset, and then I knew and I heard in an experiential way my body saying, we don't have to eat ever again. We don't have to eat if we don't want to. We can live healthily, getting all our nourishment through sun gazing. We don't actually need to eat. I remember thinking a couple of things at the time. One of them was, we better teach this to everybody so that if they ever try, right? if on the earth we ever try to do some sort of famine, it will be relevant because everybody doesn't need food. They just eat it because they want to. And the other thought was, wait, if I do it, then I lose my physical connection with Gaia and with other people because it's a very social thing, at least in my culture. And so I looked at those two things and I thought, and strawberries and cream and strawberries and chocolate are so yummy. I don't think I want to give it up. So I said, no, I think I'll pass on that. But at the same time, I didn't have to eat very much. I remember I could get through the day after day, with a spoonful of food, a couple of spoonfuls, maybe half a plate of something for the whole day. And I was perfectly fine. I did not lose weight. Yes, I used to be very skinny, but I was always very skinny. And now it's the only time that I'm not skinny. But on my entire life, I was extremely skinny. It didn't matter how much I ate or how little I ate. I didn't lose weight and I didn't gain weight. I did lose weight at one point, when I was pregnant, with my third pregnancy, I lost weight. I became like skeletal. It was horrible because I had an allergic reaction to the pregnancy. But anyways, apart from that, even then, I used to have to have blood tests to make sure that my body wasn't consuming itself. And it wasn't. So even then, somehow I was getting nourishment from somewhere. But I did lose weight then. But any other time I did not. So even though my diet changed after that, and I didn't even notice it, but I remember thinking during the day, I think I really fancy something like a steak or salad or strawberries or cream and, chocolate or whatever. And I would eat it, I remember going out with people, and some people would invite me out, like friends and whatever, or students, and we'd go somewhere to eat, and I would order, like, oh my goodness, this is so delicious, and blah, 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 and I would order it, and I would start eating, and I would eat like 1, 2, 3, 4 spoonfuls, and that was it, and I'd never noticed it until somebody pointed it out. I think it was you, actually. We went out one time, and we were with Lance White, our Zany Mystic, hi Lance, and other friends, and we all ordered some really delicious food, and I remember having a couple of spoonfuls. Well, I think maybe you pointed it out, and don't know if, and I think it was Lance, I said, hey, eat some more, it's like, it's delicious, eat some more, you need it. And I think you said, no, she never eats more than 2 or 3 spoonfuls. That's it, that's all she needs. And I'm like, really? Oh, I never even noticed.
Except for spaghetti bolognese.
Except for spaghetti bolognese, and
In
I would
that
eat
case,
a big bowl
I'm
and disappeared. But like I said, it didn't make any difference, right? Mm-hmm. With regards to weight. So I knew then, and I thought, yeah, that would be a good one for everybody to start learning. Stand on the grass or the sand or the earth, but the grass, I think, is a key, green maybe, I don't know. And then watch the sunset or watch the sunrise. But I think it's less than an hour now before it becomes, it burns your eyes out. So being very gentle with it, being careful, and start like the methodology that I learned is you start with 5 seconds. You look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you look away. That's it. The first day, and the next day you increase it by so many seconds, right? Mm-hmm. So I was increasing it like as long as I was comfortable, and then I would stop. Comfortable, I would stop, and then at 6 months I had that experience. But I remember thinking that this would stop our physical bodies being afraid of hunger, right? And that's empowering. That's very, very, very empowering. But of course, there's other ways in which you can stop your body fearing starvation, like I spoke about a year, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. Get some food that lasts 25 years. Just get it. You may never use it, and you probably won't, but your body feels great. And your body cannot be manipulated into fear of lack of food, especially if you have children. through all this dialogue and discourse that's happening, the scripts that are happening on the planet right now. And it's all to create fear. It's all about creating fear. Why? Because fear is an emotion. It's a strong emotion. And our emotions as human beings create reality. So if there's a large group of people who have chosen to continue in a power of others game, they need fear. They need that creation, that power of creation of fear. That's why we mustn't go there. That's why we have to take steps to not go in there, because as awakened individual, we're very powerful.
Right.
Was there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, that's the part that was key, which was the red flag, which was fear, which isn't to say don't be street smart.
That's right. You have to be street smart. Like I said, get food that will last you 25 years. They sell it all over the place nowadays.
Even at Costco, I've seen
At Costco, yeah, they have great packets there. Or other things, like address the ways in which that fear might be manipulated for you. Address it, right? Or even think through it. I can't remember that guy's name. He was really cool, I thought, at the time. And he said he had this illness, that he was afraid of everything. I can't remember what that is called.
I never heard that.
Yeah, we listened to him together, and he was saying what he did was to plan for the worst, and he would have planned. So, I can't go on holiday. Paranoid, that's it. Paranoid. He had clinical paranoia, right? That he would be diagnosed of it and everything. And he said he had a company and he wouldn't go on holiday because he was afraid that when he was on holiday, the IRS would go to his company and close it. That was it. It was completely logical. So he decided to do this exercise he'd learned from somebody else actually. And he would plan for it. So I said, okay, I'm going on holiday and I'm going to have an attorney and an accountant that specialize in IRS audits. And I'm going to have them on my speed dial. So if the IRS calls me saying they're going to my company, I can speed dial these people and they're going to rush over to my offices and take care of everything. And he was able to go on holiday and really enjoy himself, right? Because he was in a point where if he didn't go on holiday or take time for himself and his family, his wife was going to divorce him or something, right?
Something like that. Oh.
So that wasn't good, and saved his marriage, So that's some of the other tools. I don't remember where he learned it, but some of the tools that you can use as well when you go into fear is okay, so what do I do in that case? So we had a little bit of that here at our hill house. It's okay, so we need electricity to be able to have water.
At the top here.
At the top of the hill. Because the water comes all the way from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill. So if we don't have power, then how do we get our water up here? And we went through all the different scenarios and ways in which ways we can do it. And suddenly the fear went away because there's ways. We got it covered.
We got it covered. Even all the way to, we'll just go down to the lake with a bucket.
Yeah, exactly. We go to the lake and get a bucket.
And we'll put a bucket pack on our giant dog.
There you go.
And he can carry the water up the hill all day long with a smile.
Yes.
We should get him a camelback.
Yes.
A little water tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
but we mitigated all of the ways.
Yes.
And we looked at it and said, well, if there's no power for a while, we have sun and little solar things and a little generator thing. We can pump some that way. Mm-hmm. If we don't have fuel even,
Right.
And it's not that far that we can't walk. And there's 1 million gallons right over there. We can even just drink it out of a straw if we want, or boil it, or a billion ways. So it's if we have no water, the convenient, easy way,
right,
we can still have it.
Yes.
Maybe less convenient. But certainly and absolutely not hard or unobtainable.
Exactly. So this is the type of things we can think about. And even though, and here it rains a lot too, and we have some big tanks, we can fill those up.
Yeah, we got 600 gallons of rain right next to us in a big, huge tank.
Exactly, yeah. So this is the type of things that we can think about ourselves, go through the process of what ifs until you have solutions for everything. And then you're covered, you're good. And the important part is Step out of fear. Fear is feeding the beast.
That's it.
Fear feeds the beast, okay? Fear feeds the beast. Remember this. So don't go there. Process your fear. Take care of your physical body's fears, right? And make sure that you're covered. And at the end of the day, you can say, well, I'm in a situation where I'm screwed because, you know, I don't have access to water, I don't have access to food, and blah, 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 and this and the other. Start sun gazing.
Or move.
Or move. Yeah.
You're not stuck.
I can't move. I'm stuck. Yeah.
It's just inconvenient. Sure, inconvenient. Sure.
Yeah. I remember once a lady said, I'm afraid I'm afraid because I'm in a low frequency job and I can't give it up because if I do, I'll lose my home and I won't be able to pay my bills or for food and this and the other. But it was mostly her home. I'm going to lose my home. Mm-hmm. And where am I going to put my kids and my husband? And what are we going to do? If I lose my job, I can't lose my job. And I said, actually, that's not what you're afraid of. You're afraid of losing your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? What you're conveniently used to. But you're going to be fine. There's lots of bridges where you live. You can live under a bridge. I don't want to do that. Exactly. That's a choice point. I do not want to live under a bridge with my kids and my husband. I don't want to do that. That's different to saying, I'm going to lose everything. It's going to be over. I'm going to die and everybody's going to die and blah, 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 blah. You want a nice, beautiful home where you open the faucet, the water comes out, you switch on the lights are on, you have internet, you have your computers, all your preciouses, all your kids have all their devices, right? Your husband has all his bits and bobs that he needs and wants. That's what you want. That's what we're talking about here. Let's be realistic. It's not a life-death situation here. This is your choice. Now, if you want to keep that, and this is your lifestyle choice, is it worth keeping that job? Yes. There you go. All that tension about her job being for low frequency was over because it was worth it. So she could keep her lifestyle. That was it. And then she was happy. And then things started improving at work.
And it became less low frequency.
Yes, became less low frequency. Yeah.
And opportunities come too.
Because she stepped out of that fear mode, right? Mm-hmm. As soon as she stepped out of the fear mode, her frequency increased, and by default, her entire life changed for the better.
Yes. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
So aliens, don't fall for the fear.
Yep. So
Dialogue.
Process your fear, and then since you're going to have probably many possible interpretations, know that you're seeing flying turtles. In a sense, what you see is flying turtles.
Yes.
And so when you're seeing flying turtles, it helps to be with a group to interpret what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So you don't, just create a not supportive narrative about what it is you're experiencing.
Yes. And a little bit of disclosure here. A lot of those vehicles that people see are actually done by humans.
Some are, yes.
Yeah, a lot of them.
I was just listening to Richard Dolan had a presentation on UFOs as a yearly or bi-yearly or whatever one. And one of the things that he did was some back at the tablecloth mathematical calculations. And by his very extremely conservative, based on the number of reports that he himself receives, he gave a calculation that was somewhere over 1,000 UFO sightings every single day on the planet. 400 plus, over 400 per, day in the U.S. alone, 10,000 a year plus, based on the ones that are collected, which isn't all of them, of course. It's only the ones that somebody called somebody and said it and saved it. Those ones, there's 10,000 in a year, 400 in a day. And on the planet, there's places they don't even have the mechanism to collect the data. So hugely underreported, and specifically the ones where people visit with non-terrestrials, we'll say Elohims even. Those ones, they don't even have a place to record it. And so those aren't even reported hardly at all, except for anecdotally, and most people don't even share it with other people. So, which is to say that it's much, much, much more common than we would be led to believe. And in spite of the fact that you probably, or you might have like 1 or 2 or 3 maybes in your life, or a maybe in your life, most often we have been set up heuristically, right? We don't see it.
Yeah.
We don't see it because that's how we've been brain entrained.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, whatever we're here in 5,000 and 2,000 and whatever that lived 10,000 years, and the Adamites of 1,000 years and 500 years and 2,000, those aren't gone. They are still here. Why would they leave or abandon, right?
Right.
But our flying turtles, reality of them has them as unidentified aerial phenomena that we can't see, or if we do see, it's just a light that fizzles.
Yes.
Fizzles around.
Fizzles around.
And if we have another experience much beyond that, we often don't remember or consciously recall it.
Yes.
And if we see something, as you experienced, as I'm sure we've heard the stories, like Bashar driving down the freeway and the UFO's right in the middle of the road driving along with him and nobody's looking.
Yes.
Or the one you saw above the mall and there's everybody's in the mall and there's a UFO right above the mall and nobody's looking at it.
Right.
You don't see everything, it's there.
Right. Right.
So as that changes, there's the obvious introduction of fear. So process your fear.
Yeah.
Read things and understand things. Stay hooked up with their tribe. Yeah, I think I think there's more to talk about on this topic.
Yeah.
I mean,
hour
we're
two.
at an hour and a little bit now. We've basically touched on the Elohim, God, ETs, cooties, a lot of things. I think we should probably get into more detail and more uncensored. I guess censored isn't the right word. We will call it, in order to speak openly, we need to have those who can hear show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And if you can hear, you know where to go.
Yeah. And spread the word, please. And also help us with our months of manifestations. So walk with me now.
Oh, yeah. To talk about this.
Yeah. So we have July and August are months of manifestation at Walk With Me Now. And we do a lot of exercises and support each other in our manifestations for those 2 months. Personal, Walk With Me Now one, and a global one for the High Frequency Collective. So you're interested, join Walk With Me Now, and get on it, get on that. But also you can support us in one of our public one. The High Frequency Collective one is to gather 2 million subscribers for our newsletters. And the newsletter that we have right now is ineliabenz.com/subscribe. So share that. Make sure you're subscribed and then share it with everybody you know. Every light worker that you know, share it. We're going to be sharing a lot of information this year on that newsletter. And it's going to be key information. So share it. Okay, if you like this podcast, if you like what we're talking about, if we like our tools, do it. Stop being shy. Stop being selfish and keeping it just for yourself. Share it. Let's reach that 2 million mark. And then when we reach that 2 million mark, you'll know why.
Why?
And I say it then because actually I don't know why we received this guidance, but I know it's important. I know it's critical actually for the human collective right now. For us, our choice. For our choices. So, let's do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, honey. I love you.
Love you.
You too, BBB.
Yes, babies.